getting together and become a part of this project?
I think 4 or 5 years back, my dream to produce quality movies based on music happened because of all the stuff I learned in Hollywood or Indian cinema and all those things. And so we had YM Movies as an idea, and after writing my first script, 99 songs, I found Vishwesh, and we wanted a financier. We wanted somebody to finance or believe in our vision. And we had a couple of producers interested, but then we were very keen and ideal becoming the partner because they understood straight away what we're trying to get. They shared the vision, and they've been amazing so far.
It's easier said than done, right? Finding somebody who wants the vision and understands the vision. Yeah. That's a big challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, had you guys been interested in doing this at this level before they came to you?
Yes, yes, we were already in that process of getting into entertainment. When me and Raman met and spoke about it, then it's just naturally I got to this opportunity to work with this legend here. So as soon as I met him, I got these ideas and everything, and right in the meeting I accepted.
So what happens, a phone call, somebody said, AR Rahman wants to make a movie, and you guys are like, we better be the ones who make it. Like, how did that happen?
I guess right after, when Saji and Mr. Rahman met in Chennai, there was a synergy. And that synergy definitely, they both knew that, they wanted to work with each other.
I've never done this before, so being a composer and you see what changes happening in the world, felt like it's just one step away, and doing it on your own terms is very, very important, because I have set up my sound stage, building a studio, building special effects and all the stuff, and also having a vision, because they are from the West, and yet sharing the same kind of a sensitivity about the language, Tamil, and yet being so international about the vision. They think big, and they're sensible about what they're doing in baby steps, like what I'm doing, so it's a natural combination.
Is it the kinds of films you want to make? What are the kinds of stories you want to tell?
As simple, if you want a simple answer, the movies which go to your heart straight, and which are not manipulative, but frees you from this torture of what's happening in the world.
You better make a lot of movies. Is that what it, in terms of it being an escape, or is it a way to help understand what's happening in the world as well?
In a way, there are many things which I've learned in my life, which I come and ask a person, probably in the US or anyone, and I say, oh, we don't know about this, it's very interesting. Because the East has got so much of that stuff. But if it's presented in a way with the right kind of backing and polished entertainment, it could benefit a lot of us. I've learned so much from the West, but I feel like there's no proper people catering these amazing philosophies and amazing things which are lost. Bring back that into mainstream entertainment.
When things really, you've been doing this for a long time, but when things really started to explode for you on an international stage, is that when you got a real sense of that disconnect?
I think the main coin drop for me happened in 2001. Andrew Lloyd Webber chose me as a composer for his music with Bombay Dreams, and I went there and, AR, tell me a story. I said, what? I'm not a storyteller. But then I said, why not? And because stories are, a reflection of life. And I see life all over the place. I sit in Chicago airport and watch people going. I sit in Saudi Arabia watching all these pilgrims go. I sit in India, watch people, So people are people. They share a commonality in all their thoughts, in the sufferings, in redemption, in spirituality, in different ways. The names might be different, but we're all, happiness is happiness. It's a commonality.
So then, was that a watershed moment for you then, when you realized that you weren't just a composer? that you were a storyteller and that you had maybe a responsibility to be one?
I was trying to test out what I could say is impacting people or not. And for me, the biggest impact was what I spoke in the Oscars. There were two parts, one love and hate, and I chose love. And still people keep telling me that there's one of the quotes which inspires them every day.
Was it close, like between love and hate for you? Did you feel both really pulling at you?
It is, in a way, when you're speaking with everyone in your day-to-day life, you're irritated, sometimes you're tired, and you can snap at people, but you can also say, you can just digest that anger and say, yeah, sure, let's do it. It takes a lot of energy to do that. So I meant in that way, so in every decision you take, which doesn't bother you, you can just go the extra step and act with love, or just be silent.
How important is that to Ideal Entertainment then, to be able to, it's not just about making a project, but making certain kinds of projects? Is that way in?
Absolutely. Making good quality content is very important. Also, the love that he's talking about, that love that is shared, when you share good content with, like both 99 Songs and La Masque have very good content in terms of music. And when you share that kind of love, you create magic, you create good moments. Sir's music in '92, when Roja came out, it was trendsetting. Right? It definitely made an impact. Similarly, really the 99 Songs, as well as the virtual reality film La Masque, will also create that kind of a trendset. Right?
So 99 Songs was an interesting experience. So we had a lot of companies in India, and this is the first time I've written a story, and then we, from the beginning stages, even before Vishwesh came in, would present it, and then they were interesting. And the first time when we had Vishwesh narrate to them, they were spot on. I said, this is interesting, it's different, and let's do it. So it gave me a confidence too, because I was doing something for the first time, and yet having a kind of surety about what I was getting at, the path.
Is there something really, I mean, it doesn't happen often, but something really interesting and amazing about being able to work with people and you're building it together? Because sometimes, in Hollywood, or especially in India as well, it's an established industry and everybody has rules.
Yeah. They have an opinion, and finally it becomes nobody's child.
and you can't push yourself.
Absolutely.
So give me the balance of surety and unsureness you had about stepping into this world.
I always believe in intentions. I think the intention is to work towards success, which be honest about it, because whether it's my money or other people's money, there's a kind of responsibility we take, and I want them to come back to me. And that's the whole idea. It's a relationship, and we are all being honest. We're trying to work hard, and also learning at the same time. There's so much changing in this world. Last year we had 4K, today we have 8K, we have virtual reality, we have so much going on. Are we using all this stuff in storytelling?
This 360 VR must be so exciting for people who make music video, music film. What you can do with it, that's got to be something that excites you.
He was there while shooting it.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. Actually, what's exciting is that when you shoot this movie, like when you shoot a typical film, you can light it and you can set it up in such a way. With VR, you put that camera and it's 360.
But hide lights anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
so many scenes, my hands are seen like me, and oh my god, we have to paint it out.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
Let's go all the way back. Your earliest memories of watching your father make music. When do you first clue into that?
He was a Superman. I just saw him for like 3-4 years, and he passed away, but I was seeing him work at 7 different places at the same time. So he'll have this Modus Minor car, and he'll go to one place. Because he was an arranger, composer, so he would arrange for people who didn't know about arrangement. And so he'll go to, that's how he fell ill, and he overworked, and he wanted to get a house for us. So he had to work so hard.
And were you old? You were young then, so were you able to really process what he was doing? You had said that he was really overworked.
Yeah, I think it took me ages to realize what he was going through, and in fact, that set me on the path. Like, my father is the most respected, gentleman. He passed away, but after death, he had so much of respect. If I have to do something, it has to, take from there and go further. And whether it's in the interest of musicians or in music or innovation, everything, I think definitely I inherit everything from him.
You find as you get older, you notice more of his behavior in you?
Sorry?
As you get older, you look back and
Yeah, very strange. I did an unplugged for MTV last month, and in one of the shots I just saw him. The same kind of head and everything. I was shocked the first time. I thought I had my mother's face.
Your mother played a huge role in you actually doing this, because as I understand it, you toyed with the idea of being an engineer, and so even though your father was this established music person, you were going elsewhere?
Yes, I think I was fascinated by electronics. I never knew that these two could combine and it go further. And my mother actually once, she stood outside my high school and said, leave this and come back to your father's job. And I was so angry with her at that time. I felt disappointed and betrayed, but then now when I look back, if she had not done that, I'll be in a corner shop repairing computers.
As we understand it, after his father passed, they had all this musical equipment, and your mother would rent it out to musicians to help for them just to support you. And at some point, people said, well, you can sell this and live off the interest, right?
Yeah.
And she said, no, because she thought this was your future.
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens exactly opposite in other homes, right? You want to go to music? Don't do that. Become a doctor. But she said, no, I don't want all that.
What do you think she saw in you? Did you give her any indication that this is your thing?
I think she's a gifted sixth sense she's got in everything, dangerously. She was predicting everything before, and she'll find the right spiritual teachers. And now she's really, really ill. She's losing her memory, but remembering her as the force behind me.
How was that for you and the rest of your family, going through?
Very hard.
And I think being so connected to the spiritual side of the music is what makes it so powerful too, because it isn't just you putting notes down, like you're feeling something. We'll come back to that. What I know how I felt when I got mine, if it was your father or somebody gave you your first keyboard, because that is a real combination of electronics, engineering, and music. What was that like when you first were able to sit by yourself and play with that?
Well, all these are very, very expensive equipment he bought. And after he passed away, I was the only one who knew to set up. I was a roadie. I used to set up for light music orchestras. At the age of 11, they just put me on a vehicle and I'll go set up stuff and come back home.
That's crazy. Was it fun for you at that time?
No, it was a part of I didn't know what was fun, because this is fun, of course. I'm living my childhood now.
That's how you know you're winning, by the way. That's what winning is. Absolutely. So you get the keyboard. Talk to me about when you started to play.
I was not a very good keyboard player. I still want to learn. But what transcended to become what I was is spirituality. It's not about the techniques, it's about implementation, it's about combination of things. Many things I learned outside the school, outside music, is what made me what I am now. How do you juxtapose two completely contrasting ideas and make it one? This I learned from my mentor, Mani Ratnam. He would make me do some crazy stuff, and I was like, why is he making me do this? And finally, after 3 years, I get it. Oh, that's why he made it.
Like your own Karate Kid. Did he also finish one of your father's pieces? Or was somebody else that you worked with? Your father had a composition in progress, and you helped see it through?
No, I don't know about that.
I think that happened once, though, as I understand. Learning from your mentor, having those realizations, are you an easy learner or are you very challenging? Do you challenge everything you get?
Learning is again a heartfelt process. I learn only what I want to learn, what I need to learn, I think. There's so many things out there, but not all of them concern you. And what concerns you is very, very important.
Do you take a look at what's happening politically and culturally and think this is an important time for artists?
This is the most important time for artists. Come up with great songs, great poetry, change the world with your art.
You actually mentioned that in the morning too. When we
Yeah,
left.
absolutely. This feels like this is it. I was waiting for this time all my life.
And what was your training for it? When did you get the sense that you were waiting for this?
This, I think, was so mundane. It was so. Every time you open the paper, it used to be 30 people died, 60 people died. Now there's a reality TV on. There's so much of fun looking at it, but not at the cost of people's lives, of course. But it should be, artists to unite people. It serves as a.
Does that excite you as a company, knowing that these are the kinds of films you could make? Yeah, knowing that an artist wants to tackle what's happening in the world?
Exactly.
Yeah. That motivates you?
I'm not saying in a direct way, but, redeeming in a way.
Well, art has lots of ways of reaching people, right? What did you learn from the Hollywood experience? And how much different was it from what you learned at home?
I loved the process of how they achieve perfection, the process of how they are relentless in getting what they need, and how not just one mind, 12 minds could make something great, and also mess up things, and where to draw the line. And it's because after the Oscars I could enter any studio, I could get appointment with anyone, and I used it all. I would go to Warner Brothers and Sony and Paramount, and it was a great ride. And through that, I think, I was once in Walt Disney 100 Years of Celebration, and I was the only brown man there. Everybody was looking at me.
It's something that you notice pretty quickly, isn't it? But that's a great place to be in because
usually I never go. I quietly move away, but this time I felt like, why not?
Yeah.
And use the opportunities in a way, because sometimes you have to change, you have to evolve.
Well, this is an important time for the rest of the world. It's always been, but for the rest of the world to see that this is a diverse world, and that people with diverse, not just backgrounds, but diverse opinions need to be heard. And Hollywood is a pretty, homogeneous kind of place, even though it's a city that has lots of ethnicity in it. The business tends to be run, in a very practical way. Do you look at it like you have to kick down doors still? I mean, you have Oscars and BAFTAs and Golden Globes, so in theory you shouldn't. But do you feel like you still have to kick down doors and break barriers?
What?
Breaking barriers, just the fact that you go into these places.
I think all the barriers are within ourselves. There's no barriers.
Yeah, but then you hear Oscar so white. And so there are barriers, at least it appears in that way. What did you make of all that?
It's some of the things we need to be really, really concerned. We need to nudge it constantly, because there is a convenience and there's a comfort zone. I'm not saying people are racial. There's a convenience, and because I'll vibe with this person better. It happens to be a white person or a black person. So we should consciously look at that respect, give that respect. Like how we give respect to our partner, female partner, and we take, what do you want? Please tell me. Or we don't order for the other person. So exactly, the same way, I think even in art, it's very, very important, because when you're in a room of musicians or a room of artists or co-travelers, we need to be considerate. We need to have that consideration.
Was that always a part of you?
I've learned it. I've been served all my life because I was the earning member of the family. Right. But after traveling is when I learned all this, probably from 2000, living in England, living in America, going to all these places, fancy places, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Australia, Singapore. Seen the world, mostly Russia.
When you would come home from all these trips, how did your mother react? What did she want to know? What was that like?
The only thing she asked, have you eaten? Do you get food there? Indian food. I'm not bothered about anything.
Did I read somewhere? I don't believe almost anything I read, but somewhere that said that this was back a couple of years ago that you didn't even hug your mother, that you weren't that kind of family. Is that accurate?
It is South Indian culture. I think most of North Indians, I would say most of them. In South India, we don't hug each other because it's very warm. You're all sweaty.
So has that not changed yet? You still not hugged your mother? There's a lot of power.
She's also, I think she's widowed at the age of 26.
Yeah.
So she has her own, thing going.
Right.
She's not that guy.
Okay. Do you ever What do you think the success you've had has meant to your family and meant to your community, your success?
I think for me, now the success it's got so many strings attached because I run a conservatory. I'm the principal of the conservatory, and I want my students to look up to, our principal has won this prize, or he's done a great composition. So it actually motivates me. Like, you have people coming from all over India studying there, and then have to be in a way a role model for them. And also financially, I'm also helping the conservatory to expand or buy equipment or get a container worth of 9 pianos from the US. All this is only possible with strive for success. Important.
Do you, and also philanthropy is a big part of what you're doing too, right? And you guys have, I think, like you mentioned, proceeds, 100% of the proceeds from the fourth is going to go to your foundation?
Correct.
Yeah, talk about that and your foundation.
The Sunday we have a movie called One Heart movie, which is a concept film. And
it's you and your band, right?
Yes. Yeah. And the whole idea of that is, for 10 or 15 years, my musicians don't have any pension, they don't have this, they don't have that. All of them, then they get old, they're very naive enough. They earn a day and then they drink and then... I don't drink, thank God. What's going on? But most of them are, live for that. They are poets, they're artists, and after 60, you find most of them, my daughter has to get married, I don't have money. I've got cancer, I don't have money. I have this, I don't have money. And you feel like you have to do something for this, all over India. So we're setting a foundation called the One Heart Foundation. It's just a seed, it's just a foundation now. I'm sure it's going to be expanded by all the kind musicians out there or anybody who wants to support it.
It's really respecting the music, not just the end result, but everybody who makes it. And that's important.
I think when they get old, it's pathetic. And this would encourage to probably put the kids into music because they have security. And this is an art which so many people have benefited, but nobody takes responsibility. Nobody has a legitimacy, gives the legitimacy which it demands or it requires. So this whole YM movies is about that.
If you look at where your career is now, I don't think nobody ever predicts where their career is going to go. But when you started, is it anywhere near where you thought you were going to go?
It's different. But I still want to evolve more into music in a way where I want to. But I think I have time. If I live long, I will probably do it.
How did the songs come to you? And has that changed?
I think out of the frequency of things that you do, you get a vibe of whether it's a good or bad song, and then you can throw it off, or you can keep it, or can present it to the directors or the people who commission you, and that's very, very important. You know that this seems to be special, and then you work towards even more beautifying it, and that's why I take more time for certain songs. I know that it's going to stay.
How many times do you watch the movie before you start making the music?
Sometimes just twice. And I have the movie in my head. And then I do the music and then I'll be parallel the music to that thing. Most of the times. Otherwise we work to picture and sync.
Are some easier than others?
Yeah.
Where was Slumdog in that?
I think it was the easiest.
Really?
Yeah, because there are only 18 cues.
Is it?
Usually there are 100 and 200 cues. Wall-to-wall music, but here he doesn't use music like that. He showcases music like that.
Danny Boyle.
Whether it's 127 hours or Slumdog.
Yeah, they can be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I guess it's nice not to have too many people getting involved in your work, because when you work in some of the bigger studios, you're presenting in front of 10 or 15 people, and they're all giving you notes. As a maestro, does that drive you crazy?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I moved back to Chennai. I started doing my own movies, so we do that to other people.
And so you're hoping, now you guys know how he wants to work, right? Also,
I think I like sharing work and getting the vibe of people. Sometimes you might be wrong, And it's good, but not beyond the point where it becomes, fatherless.
Right. And that's important to keep that in mind, right? How much is it also for you, and I think you guys talked about this off the top, and I know there's a lot of people in the film community here. What is that to you?
I think each generation has its own original person, and unfortunately, sometimes people want to become like somebody else. That's first rule, not to do that, and see what you can come out. You will not be noticed at all. You have to learn all the stuff which people have before you are there, and then forget that, and then find your own voice. It's probably the easy once you understand. That's the easiest, but difficult.
Does each generation have a message or have something that needs to be said?
I think the message is the same over generations. It's like that's the foundation of humanity, and it's tried and tested.
In Toronto and Canada, and what it means. I grew up in Malton, so I grew up in a neighborhood that was heavily population of Indian and Pakistani, and so I grew up around the culture. When you first came here, I mean, there's a street in Markham named after you. So when you came to Toronto and understood what it was like, did you get a sense that it was a welcoming place?
It was, yeah. My favorite was the Young Street. I used to buy all the laserdiscs there.
And did you live here for a while? When you were?
I lived for 3-4 months, and I was doing Lord of the Rings, and then went back.
Did you feel like you were a Torontonian at that point?
I lived in the snow, so it was not nice. I wanted to get out that time, but in the summer it's great, and because people from my state especially, we don't like multiple layers, and feel like somebody's clinging onto you.
We all feel like we're being choked out.
Especially while working.
We can imagine. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you very much, gentlemen. I really appreciate your time. And thank you to everybody who came today.
Thank you again.